Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies, and we finally got it, folks. The Johan Rojas breakout game. He had 3 hits in the win last night over the Cardinals. We'll talk about the win in general, but a great performance by him. Also, Spencer Turnbull has been unbelievable to start the year for the Phillies. I know it's only 2 starts, but man, does he look good as a replacement for Taijuan Walker, who's still injured. And the Phillies, well, they win the first game of the series, but there's 2 more to go. Zack Wheeler takes the bump tonight. We'll preview that game as well. A lot to get into on today's episode of Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm Connor Thomas, your host. Thank you so much for checking us out. I really appreciate it. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that great stuff that really helps us out here on Locked On Phillies. I appreciate it. And today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So go ahead and check out our friends over at GameTime, the best way to get tickets. And I know the Phils are on the road right now, but when they come back, you're going to want to see this baseball team because they're starting to get a little bit of traction now. They've won 3 of their last 4. They won last night against the St. Louis Cardinals. Now it was a 5-3 victory in extra innings. Just to kind of talk a little, we'll get into that, right? How they got there. Jeff Hoffman in a closer role. He blew a save last night. It's not ideal. Brandon Marsh had a great lay home run. There's a lot to unpack from this game. But I know what you're thinking. If you followed along at all with Locked On Phillies and with my evaluation of the team, you know how I feel about a certain center fielder. And Johan Rojas has come under a lot of fire from the fan base and from people in general at the start of this Phillies season. He had 1 hit going into yesterday's game. He was batting like .045. This is batting average. And he comes out. He has 3 hits, a diving catch in center field, a double, an RBI. I mean, he had himself a night last night, Johan Rojas. Maybe the eclipse triggered something. It was just like, okay, he got superpowers from the eclipse. Like people were saying they were going to get from social media. My goodness. But anyway, I don't think it was the celestial event. I think that Johan Rojas is just a solid baseball player. He's not an .045 hitter. So you might be expecting me to be like, oh, wow, Rojas, see, you were all wrong. You guys, anyone who doubted Rojas is an idiot. No, not at all. Because let me tell you something that I never said about Johan Rojas. I never guaranteed you he was going to be a great major league hitter. Here's what we need to understand. Just like I'm not going to come on here and tell you 3 hits in 1 game from Johan Rojas tells you he's going to be unbelievable as a hitter. You also shouldn't react to 9 games of him struggling at the plate. Like he's just, it's too early. It's too early to make major determinations on anybody, whether it's a rookie, whether it's a veteran, whether it's a new pitcher, old pitcher, anybody. Like it's just too early on into the season to make these major overarching claims. Was it nice to see Rojas have a great night last night? Absolutely. I'm not rooting against Johan Rojas. I'm rooting for him because he plays for the Philadelphia Phillies. Anybody who puts on that uniform, I'm going to root for them to have success because I want this team to have success. And he had himself a really nice game last night. So that was good work by Rojas. He's not the only guy that was a highlight of this game. We're going to talk about Spencer Turnbull a little bit later on in the episode, but let's just look like kind of offensively at it. You had Trey Turner go 3 for 5, which is big for him. He's started off the season pretty slow. That is good work by Trey Turner. You had a big hit from Alec Boehm in extra innings. He was only 1 for 4, but he came up big when it counted. Top of the 10th, 2 RBIs. Or sorry, 1 RBI from Alec Boehm, but it moves a runner up to 3rd as well. And then Bryson Stott with an RBI on a sacrifice fly is how the Phillies got their 4th and 5th runs of the game. And also, Brandon Marsh, 2 for 4. With 2 runs scored and another RBI, an RBI on a solo home run that he hit in the 9th inning. Like, this game was 2-0 for the longest time. And then you get into a situation where, because Trey Turner had a big hit and an RBI. Johan Rojas had a big hit and an RBI early, make it 2-0. Brandon Marsh extends the lead, scores a third run for the Philadelphia Phillies, and that was much needed because Jeff Hoffman gave up 2 in the bottom of the ninth to send it to extras, and then the daycare kicks it in with Stott, and boom. But that's what you kind of look for, right? The Phillies had 10 total hits. 6 of them came from Turner and Rojas, but you also had 2 from Marsh. Stubbs had a hit. Bohm had a hit. Stubbs had, I was looking at the run column for Pache. Turner, like, you're looking at a situation where he really contributed more than you would have expected from how he started the season. Like, my point is balanced effort. That's what I'm talking about. It was a balanced effort for the Philadelphia Phillies at the plate. In fact, the top of the order actually wasn't great. Schwarber was over. Harper was over. Like, Stott was over in the hits column. Castellanos was over. Like, the bigger names didn't come through. And when they start coming through, you're going to see that run total go from 5 to 7 to 9 to the offense you expect the Philadelphia Phillies to have someday. But it's going to take all of these guys. Rojas is going to have to hit at some point, and Trey Turner's definitely going to have to hit, and Bohm and Marsh are going to have to hit. Let's talk about Brandon Marsh real quick. I brought up how I think he could have a breakout year, kind of akin to what Bryson Stott did last year, where we knew he was good, like a talented player, but we didn't know how good he could be. And last year was the year Bryson Stott showed us, oh, this is one of the better breakout stories in all of baseball. I think Brandon Marsh is going to be that guy this year. I've been vocal about that. And last night, I mean, he puts another one in the seats. He's got 3 homers. Bryce Harper has 3 homers, tied for the lead on the ball club. That's a pretty darn good start to the year for Brandon Marsh. So I was happy with some of the offensive effort from the Phillies. Now, they left a couple runners in scoring position. To get 5 runs off the 10 hits is you're going to leave a couple guys out there. But all in all, while the offense was quiet for a good amount of the game until you got into extra innings, you scored 2 in the 10th, you scored 1 in the 9th. You still, the other thing about this team that you saw last night, right, I think is important to remember. They might not always have, well, they're not always going to have their best offensive game. They're going to have slow games. They're going to have games where the offense looks quiet. But this team running it back, what people don't consider, right? When everyone was mad about them not adding guys or trading guys or changing this roster around this offseason, this team has figured out what they need to do to win. They're comfortable that they know how to win when the chips are down and the game matters most, and you're at the pinnacle part of the stress and the opportunity for the game to be won. And the Philadelphia Phillies know how to do that, right? Does this Cardinals team know how to do that? They were in the basement of the Central last year. They were in the playoffs 2 years ago, but the Phillies knocked them out quickly. Like, that's the difference. And when you bring in new players, they don't know that. They don't have the feel for what that takes always. The Phillies have figured out what it takes to win tough games, and they're going to consistently do it all year long. I firmly believe in that. So I feel really good about where the Phillies are at. They don't have to beat the brakes off of every team they play. They just have to continue to win. And this was a big win, especially with Wheeler going tonight in Game 2 of this series with the Cardinals. Winning Spencer Turnbull start gives you a really darn good chance with Wheeler and Nola on the docket to at least get the series win. Maybe a little bit of a sweep zone that we're looking at. We'll see. I mean, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself when it comes to this series, but I was encouraged by the performance of some players last night. And that was the kind of game where you needed a couple guys to step up that have been struggling this year, and they did. The one thing we can take away from all of this, right? And I've been preaching this. I'm not going to tell you Johan Rojas is a great hitter right now. I'm not going to make grand proclamations or anything. I'm not going to say, like, Nick Castellanos stinks. I know we'll have a Castellanos discussion at some point if he continues to struggle. Kyle Schwarber went over 5. Like, we can have those discussions at some point, but we have got too small of a sample size. They're 10 games in to go ahead and determine whether or not these guys are going to have a good year, bad year, slow start, fast start. Like, no. A slow start or fast start is determined by the first month of the season. It's April, 9th today? Like, there's so much time left to go before we even get to the month mark, much less how much time we have before we get to 162 games fully being played. So I'm happy with what Rojas did. I'm happy with what Turner did. I'm not happy with 0 for 5s from Castellanos and Schwarber, but ultimately, if it evens out to a win for the Phillies, we're good with that. I told you I was going to talk about the pitching, right? I want to lead with the offense because who doesn't like offense? But coming up, we're going to also have a conversation about Spencer Turnbull because this dude is having a really good start to the year. And also, it should remind you of somebody from last year's Philadelphia Phillies team. So I'll tell you who that is and why Turnbull's been so good and what he needs to do to continue to be that good as we continue Locked On Phillies. My goodness, Game Time is the #1 place to go to get tickets for major sporting events, concerts, all that stuff. I mean, they're an authorized ticket marketplace in Major League Baseball now, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. So if you're looking for last-minute tickets, Game Time is the place to go. If you're looking for any tickets, even if you're planning this out ahead, go to Game Time because they've got killer deals. You can see the views from your seat. Their lowest price guarantee means if you look and you find another ticket in your same row and section for less, they'll credit you 110% of the difference with a Game Time guarantee. I mean, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets, but it's not just baseball. No, they do it for all sports, comedy, concerts, theater, all of those events that you want to go to that you need a ticket to get in the gate. Game Time is the place to go for that. They're amazing. And I know the Phillies are on the road right now, but Sixers, they got a home game tonight as they make a playoff push. Playoffs are right around the corner in basketball. Playoffs are right around the corner in hockey as the Flyers still kind of cling to a small chance that they'll be a part of the Stanley Cup playoffs. I mean, you can look at tickets for all of these events, and Game Time's the only place I recommend for you to go and get them. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time for a limited time, too. All users can get $20 off any MLB purchase of $150 or more in the Game Time app with code FIRSTPITCH. Terms apply. Again, that's code FIRSTPITCH for $20 off from March 25th to April 14th only. So download the Game Time app today. You got to hurry up. Only got a couple more days. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. I did not see this one coming, folks. I did not see Spencer Turnbull having this start to the year that he's had, but my goodness, am I happy that he has. Yesterday, he steps on the rubber for the Philadelphia Phillies and just goes 6 innings of 2-hit ball, no runs, none earned, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. That's unbelievable. His stats for the year so far, he's got 13 Ks. He's 1-0. Got the win yesterday. Not the win yesterday. Win first time out. And a .55 whip, obviously. The win was gotten by, it would have gone to Jeff Hoffman last night, even though he blew the save. But anyway, the point stands. The 0 ERA, the low whip. I mean, the amount of work he's done this year. He's made 2 starts. He's got 11 innings worth of work. He's only allowed 5 hits. He allowed 1 run that wasn't earned. Struck out 13, walked 1. Those are the numbers that you'd expect from Zack Wheeler or Aaron Nola or Ranger Suarez, and you're getting them from Spencer Turnbull. Why? And where did this come from? So Spencer Turnbull has had a lot of injury issues. It's not just Tommy John surgery that he has recovered from recently, but he's had everything injured. It's just kind of been a guy that's been unlucky. The talent's been there, which is why he continues to get a chance to pitch at the major league level. But the injuries have cost him performance-wise. He hasn't been that good lately. Past couple of seasons, I mean. That's natural as you recover from things. And normally, as you get further away from those recoveries, you return back to the pitcher you're supposed to be. But that takes some faith from an organization to give them that opportunity. And frankly, the Phillies didn't even have that much faith in him. They had enough faith to bring him in, but if Taijuan Walker's healthy, Spencer Turnbull's in Lehigh Valley right now, and we're not seeing this at the major league level. So I'm not at all saying it's a good thing that Taijuan Walker's hurt. I think Taijuan Walker is a very, very good pitcher. But it's just one of those weird things where you get an opportunity, you take advantage of it, and you show the stuff that you can have. And the Phillies might be feeling right now, hey, we got to steal with Spencer Turnbull. Now, there's a ways to go, right? So I told you he reminds me of a guy from last year, just to give you the idea of how I think his season's going to go. The guy he reminds me of from last season is Matt Strom. If you remember, Ranger Suarez had forearm tightness to start the year. Matt Strom was forced into, also acquired last offseason, just like Turnbull was ahead of this year. And Strom steps in and he starts for Ranger Suarez, and he was really darn good. unbelievably good compared to expectations at the start of last year. And as Suarez comes back and the rotation fills out a little bit more, Strom goes to the pen, becomes a lefty relief pitcher who eats up a lot of innings, becomes a big part of the team's overall success last season. I could see that for Turnbull. I don't think he'll stay in the rotation when Walker's back, and Sanchez has looked good, and you've had really good starts from basically all your pitchers besides that one NOLA start against the Braves. I'd imagine Turnbull ends up in the pen, though, as a long-term righty reliever, long innings, basically, long relief pitcher from the right side that could really help you out. So that's something to keep an eye on. I'd expect him to have a similar season, just path-wise, to Matt Strom. And if he's as successful as Matt Strom was last year, that's great news for the Phillies. Here's what he needs to do to keep doing what he's doing, because you heard it, 13 strikeouts, 1 walk on the season so far. He was a little bit kind of shaky to start last night's game. And the way Turnbull settled in during that start was he needed to get his off-speed going. He needed to get that like sweeper, slider, combo pitch, breaking ball going. Because when his breaker is moving and he's spotting it low and away to righties, that is when he's the most difficult to hit. Once he got that, he settled in a lot more consistently. So that is the key, is just to get a better feel for that pitch. I also like the kind of rapport between him and Garrett Stubbs, who caught the game last night. Garrett Stubbs now has caught 2 shutout starter performances, not shutout for the whole game, but you get what I'm saying. No earned runs is what I should say, because there was a run given up before, but it was unearned in Turnbull's first start of the year. I'm just ecstatic about what Spencer Turnbull gave you. It's a shame that he didn't get the win in this game, and that's because Jeff Hoffman comes in the 9th inning and he gives up 2 runs and ends up forcing extra innings where the Philadelphia Phillies would win it anyway. Enough about Turnbull. I think you get how well he started the year, and you understand my thought process on him and how excited I am about him, but I can't see just the good and ignore the bad. Same reason I brought up Kyle Schwarber and Nick Castellanos both going 0 for 5 last night. I got to bring up Jeff Hoffman blowing the save. And this is why I've long been a proponent of set closers for teams. Okay? I think that every team should have a set closer. You are our guy. It doesn't mean you can't change that if that person's not pitching well, but the closer by committee is such a weird thing. Does Jeff Hoffman have nasty stuff? Absolutely. Does he have great makeup on the mound? 100%. Is he mentally tough? I think so. And has he pitched in big spots? Yes. Just did last year for the Philadelphia Phillies on their playoff run. Like, he was nails for them all year long. So what's different? Well, the 9th inning is a different beast. It's a different feel. It's a different approach by the other team. Some dudes can be as perfect of a pitcher in innings 1 through 8 as they want to be, but the 9th inning is a different animal. And that's why some guys just make a lot of money, or at least they used to be closers and throw the 9th inning. A huge part of it is feel, and you can't replicate that in the 6th, 7th, 8th. That's why finding a guy that has that mentality is so huge. I'm not saying Jeff Hoffman can't be that guy, but I'm saying that's proof that it's so difficult, because he's been so good since the Philadelphia Phillies brought him up partway through last season. So just something to keep in your back of your mind. Maybe a trade deadline thing way down the line. Do the Phillies need a set closer? Maybe they'll put someone currently in the bullpen in that role. Maybe it will be Hoffman and he'll develop into that guy, but that's the textbook example of why I don't like closer as a committee last night. But I can't get mad at Hoffman. He's still got really good stuff, and the Phillies won the game anyway. So very good night for the Philadelphia Phillies, even if it kept us up a little bit later than we were planning. Now they got to go out tonight and keep that momentum. They've won, 2? No, they lost the series ender. So they won 3 of their last 4, but now you want to try and build more of a winning streak than just a couple in a row. And that's what I want to see from the Phillies tonight as Zack Wheeler takes the mound against Sonny Gray. So we'll talk about that pitching matchup, tonight's game, all of that stuff as we wrap up Locked On Phillies. And now, Prize Picks. You know about Prize Picks, right? You should. They're America's #1 fantasy sports app. They got more than 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. Listen, playoff action right around the corner for basketball, for hockey. You can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during those postseasons. You got to go ahead and check it out. And Prize Picks has something for every sports fan, from baseball and basketball to you can even do League of Legends and everything in between. You can pick LeBron, Shohei Ohtani, Connor McDavid, Jude Bellingham, all in this same entry. You know soccer, you know basketball, you know baseball, you know hockey. Put them all together. Why not? You didn't think I know who Jude Bellingham is? Come on, I'm a versatile fan. And you should be a versatile winner with Prize Picks. Prize Picks is super easy. Plus, okay, you need more incentive? Really, we got to throw money at you? Okay, we'll do that. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB. You'll get a first deposit match up to $100. How great is that? Again, you download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. You got to check out Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Tonight, 7:45 p.m., once again, the Philadelphia Phillies will take on the St. Louis Cardinals out there in St. Louis, Missouri. And you have Zack Wheeler on the mound. I told you in yesterday's episode, if you can find a win in Turnbull start or Nola's start, I expect them to win Wheeler start. And the betting odds would reflect that. The Philadelphia Phillies minus 135 favorites on the money line. But the ESPN Analytics matchup predictor has the St. Louis Cardinals as a 55.3% chance to win tonight. Phillies only 44.7% chance. So should be a good game. Sonny Gray is a pretty darn good pitcher, but he has not made a start yet this year. He has not made an appearance yet this year. So this is his debut for the 2024 season. Zack Wheeler, meanwhile, has pitched really well and been unlucky. 2 games, 0-1, but a .75 ERA. How does that happen? Listen, is he turning into Jacob deGrom? I don't think so. The Phillies are going to get him run support at some point. And he's also a lot more durable, but you need to see Wheeler go out there and continue to do what he's been doing. 15 Ks and 12 innings of work so far. He has allowed 8 hits. I'd like to see that get down a little bit, but he's scattered them enough that the runs have just not been coming for the opposing teams. He's only walked 1 guy. So Zack Wheeler is currently, I believe, right now, the odds-on favorite for the National League Cy Young Award, with Spencer Strider's injury looming, which we talked about in yesterday's episode. It's a good opportunity for the Phillies to take 2 or 3 and guarantee themselves another series win. You don't have to sweep teams, but you win series consistently, you're going to be a darn good baseball team, and the Phillies have a real chance to do that. No lineup out yet, right? But Sonny Gray, righty, you're looking at a guy that, here's who I'm watching for the Philadelphia Phillies. Brandon Marsh, stay hot. You get another righty to go ahead and look at. Bryson Stott needs to he's shown flashes, but he's sputtering a little bit. You need to find him a little bit more consistency. And Kyle Schwarber had a really good start to the year. Then he had the 0 for 5 last night. I think he steps up and has himself a big night tonight. Maybe even a Schwarbomb off of Sonny Gray. How does that sound to everybody? If he does, you heard it here first right here on Locked On Phillies. I don't expect Nick Castellanos to have like a crazy breakout game, just righty. All speed stuff good for Sonny Gray. So I'd imagine he's going to see more of a steady diet of those low and away breakers that drive him insane. I'm not worried about him yet. The lineup is strong enough outside of him to continue to produce. And as long as the Phillies win, that's all that matters to me. But it should be a good game tonight, a little bit later of a start. Remember, 7:45 because Cardinals are Central Time. But we'll have your reaction to that game tomorrow on the next episode. That's all for today's, though. It was a fun night last night. What do you say we do it again in less innings so I can get to bed on time and everyone else as well? And then the Philadelphia Phillies can continue to build that record to where they want it to be. They're back to 500. They win tonight. Hey, you're 6-5. You're over 500. And yes, one thing real quick to keep in mind. I said this on air this morning on 97.5 The Fanatic on the radio, my full-time job. But if the Philadelphia Phillies win tonight, here's my bold prediction, because that would move them to 6-5. They'd be over 500. If they win tonight, they will not drop below 500 for the rest of the season. That's my bold prediction. I think they have an easy schedule. I think they've got a little bit of momentum. If they win tonight, they got a good chance to win with Nola. Then they see the Pirates. Like, And the Pirates have started off hot. We'll talk about that when we get to that series. I feel that in my bones, that they're going to start to build momentum and be comfortably a consistent team this year. And they haven't even started hitting like crazy yet. This team's ceiling is still very high, folks. And we'll hopefully be talking about another win tomorrow on the next episode of Locked On Phillies. But that's all for today's episode. Thank you again for checking us out. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Again, please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that great stuff. I'll talk to you tomorrow on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.